Backatcha. Hello? Hello? I exist. I am in my existence phase of existence. This is not an avatar. I repeat, this is not an avatar. This is not a unidentified aerial object. This is not a extraterrestrial. This is Andrew Robert Cologne. Yes, I have missed you. Yes, I have been gone. No, I have not been resorting. I have not been at resorts. I have not been on a cruise, just cruising around. I've never actually been on a cruise. There's a David Foster Wallace personal essay about cruises that basically show why cruises are not really great experiences. Maybe I should say they're not great experiences for sensitive artists like me and David Foster Wallace. I never considered myself the black David Foster Wallace. I considered David Foster Wallace the white precursor to Andrew Robert Cologne. But I have some respect for David Foster Wallace. I couldn't finish Infinite Jest. It was just too much. It's like, I get it. I read like the first 100 pages. I get it. But like, I'm not going to read another like 1,000 pages of this. I got it, but respect to him. He definitely wrote some great stuff. I definitely have some love for David Foster Wallace. And I love his essay about cruises. You should look it up. And he kind of breaks down why cruises are not great. But the real point is I have not been resorting. I've not been at a resort. I have been diligently writing. I have been writing more than I've ever written at any period in my entire life. I've never written this much. I've never been this focused strictly on writing. It's been great. It's also been kind of crazy. Anybody who writes knows that writing is kind of a crazy experience. So, a lot of things happen. I was definitely locked in manuscript mode, but, that's a weird place to be, It's hard to finish. It's hard to leave. It's hard to think about other things. It's hard to connect with humans. It's hard to decipher between reality in your fictional world, especially when you're writing like I write. So yeah, it was quite the experience. Being locked in manuscript mode. That was quite the experience. I always remember this thing that Ralph Ellison said about his book, Invisible Man, which you may have heard of. It's just an unknown little book written by, an unknown black writer. No, I'm just obviously kidding. Invisible Man, he said that, I think I read this somewhere years ago. I heard this somewhere. This is not a verified fact. This may be fake news, but this may be fake literary news. I think it's real. I heard somewhere maybe 20 years ago that Ralph Ellison knew that he was done with Invisible Man when he went outside and he looked at a homeless person in Harlem, and he went back inside and looked at himself, and he didn't really see a difference. He looked like a going crazy homeless, unhoused person. He looked like a neurodivergently struggling, unhoused person. And that's when he knew this novel is done. Now, those who know Ralph Ellison, he never finished another novel. He claimed his second novel burned, but who knows? Maybe it did. But regardless, he never finished the second novel. So he kind of, they published Juneteenth after he passed away. And I never read that. It seemed like they cobbled that together. Maybe that's great. Maybe it's great. I just didn't read it. I think I bought it and then just misplaced it. It's hard to finish books when the author didn't co-sign it. It's like a big part of a book is the author co-signing it. And we don't have that with Ralph. So it's hard to really believe. If Ralph didn't believe, it's definitely kind of hard for us to believe. But, it might be great. It might be a great book. But that's just a weird phenomenon. Like you leaving stuff undone and people do it because you just become so famous. Marquez had the same thing with his children. But I don't blame him. That's a big bag. You got to get that bag. We definitely know if it wasn't controlled by the family that some other rich patron, they would definitely do it. So, it's not like there's a better scenario here. So I just say that to say, I was locked in. Manuscript mode. I finished the manuscript. I did finish the manuscript. And I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to have shared it with my family and some very, very, very close friends. I'm excited also just not to be spending every waking second thinking about this universe that I've been in for the last 2.5 years, if not the last 20 years. It definitely feels like the end of something and the beginning of something new. Also, I can start to plan some of the other little stuff I got planned for my rap fiction universe. But yes, that's where I've been. I haven't forgotten you. I haven't forsaken you. I have not decided that my voice does not matter to you. I know my voice matters to you. I know. My voice matters to you. I get it. And because of that, I am back, and I am letting you know I did not forsake you. I was not resorting. I was not on a cruise. I was locked in manuscript mode, and now the manuscript is done. So yes, I finished the first official rap fiction album. It's done. I've done it. I've started it. Rap fiction now has its first album, its first novel, its first book of short stories. Whatever you want to call it, rap fiction is now has its first completely finished artifact. Now, I'm going to go back into some history of rap fiction in an actual post. I'm going to give you some of the history in a post about not my necessarily relationship with rap fiction, but like the precursors to rap fiction beyond the great Slick Rick, who was effectively a rapper who was telling incredible stories. But I actually want to get into the writers who tried, who laid the foreground for the things that I'm trying to do, and show them some love, highlight them, because it's not just something I came up with out of the woodwork. It's something that has been developing. You know, the connection between rap and fiction has been developing and, you know, growing and kind of like, the word I'm looking for, like articulating, but I can't find the right word. Articulating, whatever. You know the word I mean. It's been kind of like bubbling underneath the surface. And I don't think anyone had explicitly called it rap fiction yet. I think I am the first one to do that. And I definitely have the LLC, and I'm definitely about to put the lay the trademark down so nobody else is about to get it. Trademark application is submitted for the haters. Rap fiction is going to be mine on the trademark, and we definitely going to make some money with rap fiction. But because it wouldn't be rap if it wasn't about making a dollar to get, you know, to basically improve yourself and your community. You got to also be trying to get money with rap. So, you know, I am going to write a post where I go into some of the history, the research I've done on what were some of the precursors in fiction, you know, to rap fiction, and what I just finished, the first official artifact of rap fiction, the novel, the book of short stories, the album that I wrote. So yes, rap fiction is real. It is real now. I've written the first thing. But, you know, the rap fiction origin story for me personally is kind of interesting, you know, how I got even back into like focusing on fiction as my main focus. You know, I was been working with trying to get TV pilots in films. I'm an independent filmmaker and writer, and I've directed some, but I've written more than I've directed. But I have directed several films. But, you know, I more see myself as a writer than a writer-director. But I was writing TV pilots for years. I was making short films for years. For like 10, 15 years, I've been making short films and writing TV pilots. And the last 4 or 5 years, I was really working on trying to take books that were already published and make them into movies or TV series. That was the bag that I was trying to be in. That was what I was focused on. And I had a lot of passion for that. I actually think I was really good at it. I do think I have a very, very good ability to read an intellectual asset, an IP, like a novel, a play, you know, any type of IP, basically. Consume it, read it, listen to it, see it. I'm able to see, okay, how would it adapt to a movie? How would it adapt to a TV series? How would you adapt it? Like, I'm very into adapting. A big part of my writing is adapting. That's kind of like rap fiction and how I did it. It's like I basically with rap fiction went towards my skills. My skills are really adapting. Like, I'm a great adapter. If you give me real life stuff, I'm able to lock in and kind of create a fictional version of real life stuff very well. I'm able to pivot off criticism. Like, I'm able to read something, criticize it, and imagine how much better it would be, So I really do have this passion for adaptation. So I was working on trying to get other people's books, our even rebooting TV shows and adapting them in different ways. I was working on trying to get that done. And I was working with producers. I was pitching producers. I pitched Rock Nation. That's a whole nother story. My Jay-Z documentary story is a whole nother story for another day. But I did pitch Rock Nation. I pitched, Warner Brothers. I pitched agents. I pitched managers. I pitched a lot of people. I got some awards. I got into some, labs or whatever. So I made some progress, but not a ton. But I did make some progress. But what I kept dealing with, what I kept bumping up against that was hurting my ability to get what I needed done, accomplished, was producers were treating me like money, not talent. Because, I do work in business. I do raise money for real estate, and I do know a lot about how you structure assets and how you analyze them and how you do projections and how you raise money for an opportunity. I do know a lot about that. So I get why some producers would see me and say, hey, yo, just make this dude an EP, get him to get money for us. He'll get money and he can fund indie projects. That doesn't really work for TV that great because I guess you could fund a pilot. That doesn't mean it's going to get picked up. So it kind of still works for indie film because you can make an indie film and then work with a producer to get into film festivals, PR it through the film festivals, market it through the film festivals, and hopefully you sell it to a distributor after it has its success at the film festival. So that's a tricky game too, but I think it's more doable. But so I was working and I really know a lot about the entertainment industry from the business side because I've been doing it for so long and trying to have a breakout success for so long. I was even working with other producers who had success. I've done a bunch of different things in the business and the entertainment side. So, but the thing I kept bumping into is people trying to make me an EP. And basically, I think part of the problem is every producer producers are basically tastemakers. They're basically selling their taste. So they're not really writers or creators, they're tastemakers. And a big part of how they make their taste is the story of the creator. And a businessman artist, it's just not an archetype in the current entertainment industry. It's actually very strictly the business people and the creative people are very separate. The creative people hate the business people hate the creative people. Now this is the entertainment industry. I'm not necessarily talking about the publishing industry. I think it's a different beast there, though they share some similarities. But I realized these people are only going to see me as money if I don't have a book or some type of product that I wrote that they can respect. And I realized man, I have to write a book, and I realized that my whole time I'm thinking if I write a novel, because I got my training in fiction writing 20 years ago. But I always thought, man, I need a book to go crazy. I need to do numbers. I just didn't want to publish a book and it just be another book sitting on the shelf that doesn't really make an impact. I'm a big thinker. I'm a big dreamer. So I wanted, if I was to write a book, I wanted to have a big impact. And I realized, though, working in the entertainment industry, that I was actually better off writing a book, it not doing that well, and then still pivoting to doing that. Because even just referring to a novel, just being able to refer to the fact that I had published a novel would help distinguish me with writers from just executive producers or producers. And I really do see myself as an executive producer and artist. I think I'm unique in that way. I think most people are probably are not all three, but one of the three, even though I do think that there's probably more people who can do more than one thing than people realize. I think the entertainment industry still has a little bit of this Henry Fordism where it's very one person does one thing and one person does another thing. And sometimes they let the actors become directors or writers, but that's really the actors because the actors have all the clout. They get the movies and the TV shows made because people think that the actors actually do everything. So, which is good. I mean, that actually helps the mystery and the illusion, the fact that people start to think that the actors are real and the characters are real. That's actually good. That's part of the magic of entertainment. So I'm not against that, but that does give disproportionate power to the talent. So you notice that only the talent is really like able to go eventually into writing and directing. And honestly, they don't like when the talent does that. So, but anyways, I knew I needed to get in as some form of talent. I actually have training as an actor. I could have tried acting, but I just didn't want to do that, you know? So I started thinking in my head, man, I would be better off with a book, even if the book didn't do well, than I am now as just a money person, you know? Because I need to be able to convince and understand people that my taste is very, very sophisticated. Like, it's not like I'm just approaching this stuff as a money person that's never read or just read and always dreamed or something like that. It's like, no, I'm a creator who has created stuff. And I'm also a person with very, very, very sophisticated taste. So, you know, I actually returned to this old blog I wrote 18 years ago where I would analyze New Yorker stories. I looked at that and read that again. I actually shared it with my wife, Rose. And she was like, yo, the voice in this blog from 20 years ago, that is the voice. Like, that voice is a powerful voice, Andrew. It was really my wife, Rose, who was telling me, like, yo, this voice is a powerful voice. And then I actually had a co-writer from like college that is like a bestie of mine. It's definitely my writing bestie. Her name is Backatcha. She's not on Substack as much, but she sometimes will comment on my stuff. So if people are really kind of locked in on me, they may know who she is. But and may have noticed her before. But yeah, Essenam is like my oldest writer friend. She like super encouraged me, and we've encouraged each other for several decades now. And when it comes to our writing aspirations, and, you know, she's wanted to be a writer since she was like in elementary school. But she has her first novel's out. It actually got a notable. It got noticed by the NPR last year. I think it was last year. It got noticed by NPR. I think it's Blood on the Brain. I actually read the manuscript like 20 years ago when she first wrote it, and I read the novel when it was finished. It was changed a lot, improved a lot, but since I first read it. But I actually liked the first version too, so I definitely get why that novel was powerful and profound. Yeah, Blood on the Brain. So check that out if you're interested. Blood on the Brain. That's Essenam Bediako, my ace, my real ace as a writer from decades ago. She did tell me, yo, I think you need to return to fiction. So I was in Tanzania doing some business stuff, and she emailed me, and I was thinking about her when she emailed me, and she's like, yo, I think you should return to fiction, Andrew. I know you're doing your TV pilot thing. I know you got this company with this other producer, but I think you should return to fiction, and here are the stories that I read of yours that I always really liked. So I was like, damn, okay. So I started to get and I was already thinking about like, yo, I'd be better off with a book even if it didn't do good than I am now. So, and then Rose told me everything but the fiction, that voice. So I started playing around with like, what if I was to develop this everything but the fiction voice into a novel? And then I started thinking about some of the things that had been going through my mind for a while. Like for a while, I had been like, really for like 10 years, I had been thinking of myself as like this weird way in which I was like a rapper. Like the way that real estate was similar to rap. There's a lot of, the way that real estate is similar to drugs. You know, I think a lot of capitalism shares similarities with the drug game. So that's why it's so powerful and profound when rappers criticize the drug game. They're also inherently criticizing elements of capitalism because there's so many similarities between just normal legal business in the drug game. So there's a bunch of parallels with rap, you know. So, a bunch of parallels with real estate. So for a long time, I had thought of myself as this person who was this artist who was creating films, writing scripts, writing TV pilots, very sensitive to the human condition, but also this real estate hustler who was having to make some of the same decisions that drug dealers have to make and dealing with some of the same dilemmas that drug dealers have to face. So I definitely started to see myself a while ago as a bit like, yo, I'm a bit like a rapper. Like, I'm like this person that has all these artistic and human aspirations to express myself and express my community's story. And obviously I'm listening to a lot of rap, but I'm also like this person that's a real estate investor that's doing all these things that inherently have some conflict with just a utopian sort of artistic mindset. So I definitely saw that duality. And I started to think about how rap was the dominant figurative language now. Like, I've long definitely thought, like, rap really is dominating figurative language. So much so that, like, Shakespeare really, like, come on now. The next Shakespeare now is going to be somebody from rapping in London. You know, it's going to be a rapper. because the way the rappers in England are doing language, like they taking it from Shakespeare. You know, it's like he wasn't writing the way that British rappers rap now, but British rappers are doing the most innovative things with language. So in 100 years, when people go back to look at where language is with the British culture, they're going to be going more to rappers. There's at least going to be a rapper that's going to be in that conversation. It's not going to just be Shakespeare, because rap has not even taken over the origin of the English language, Britain, you know, in UK. And I think, and it's definitely been dominating in French, in France. It's definitely dominating French. It's definitely dominating even like Arabic, Middle Eastern cultures. It has become the dominant figurative language. And it was invented by black men not black men. It was invented by black people and Puerto Rican people in New York. But I used to argue with New Yorkers about that. And I actually did more research, you know, shout out to Israel. Shout out to Israel, a person. I have a friend named Israel. He's actually Dominican. So anyway, so I have a friend named Israel. Shout out to Israel. He was the first person to really make the argument to me. I was arguing with them like, oh, you can't really say hip hop was born in New York. But I actually did research. It is definitely born in New York. And, you know, I can't deny that. Even though I would argue that it's so heavily influenced by other art forms like rock and roll, the blues, that you can kind of trace even hip hop's origin really to the blues, so that you got to really connect it to Mississippi. But, you know, the subgenre rap is definitely the genre comes from New York with a connection to blues in Mississippi. You know, in the same way, I'm definitely not going to let anybody say the blues doesn't come from Mississippi. It definitely comes from the sharecroppers in the guitar in Mississippi, and some of the sharecropping. And there's always a connection between capitalism and art forms creating. And a lot of blues is about sharecroppers and the type of money they were making, and the little bit they could spend on the money, and how they were getting the money, and, you know, what seasons they were working, what seasons they weren't working, and how that allowed the blues singer to take advantage of that to create an art form and pleasure and entertainment for sharecroppers that then became, like, you know, a phenomenon that changed American music history. So, but yeah, definitely rap to me is the dominant figurative language. So, you know, I said, you know, I'm going to come back to writing fiction, but I'm going to just use strictly the cadence of rap. And I'm trying to bring rap and fiction together. I can't just do regular literary fiction. I'm too real for their world. Like, that's the thing. I am too real for the regular literary fiction world. I keep it too real. Even back when I was in the MFA, they would always say that, like, God, like, you really be keeping it real. Like, you just be talking about shit that people don't normally talk about when it comes to mixed race dating, when it comes to misogyny, when it comes to capitalism. You just, in your fiction, Andrew, you keep it super real. And I've always known that. I just keep it too real for their world. Like, I'm not going to give them something that they just want. The literary world, it's like they have like little pockets. They want to put you in a pocket and serve you up a certain type of way. I'm just not that nigga. You can't put me in no pocket. Like, I create the pocket. I am the pocket. So you can't put me in something that I am. So I couldn't do it. So I had to come back and do something that was different. I'm too real for their world. So I had to create rap fiction. You know, one of the first things I wanted to do when I started working on my novel, which was going to be the first rap fiction album, is I needed the first song. And the first song / story that I was going to do is my favorite story, this like heartbreaking story that I wrote literally 20 years ago. So it's the only story in the album where it's not written with the rap fiction voice explicitly in mind. But I had to use it because I love this story. So I did adapt it. I did come to understand it more. It's not the exact same story at all. I mean, it's probably like changed 50% since I first originally wrote it. But the story is called Fat Like Raymond. And the story actually genesis is I overheard something on a football field one day when I was in high school. So I overheard a line about a guy. I can't tell you the line because then that gives away the story. But I overheard this line on the football field when I was in high school. And this line always stuck with me. It always stuck with me as like this profound contradiction, and maybe the contradiction is simple and it's not profound. Like when the story comes out, I could see people saying it's not a profound contradiction, especially from a feminist lens. But I think it is a contradiction that is pervasive in how men think about women. So this line always stuck with me. So years later, when I'm in college, I'm writing. I'm super into fiction. Like I'm insanely into fiction. Like I cannot overstate how much I was into fiction. I mean, between college, it was like movies at the very beginning, and I maintained a love for movies throughout college. But after my first year, it really, as far as my work, I pivoted heavy to writing fiction, and I was super into reading and super into writing. And so I worked in writing so much. And I wrote a lot of bad stories in college. I took tons of I took basically literature classes. I did the requirements to graduate, and I did literature classes to get a literature master's, because at this time you couldn't major in creative writing at Columbia. You could only do I don't know, what do they call it? It's not a minor. It's like some word they have. I forget. I haven't been in college in a long time. Some word for it's like the word for minor at Columbia. You can only get a minor in fiction or creative writing at that time. I think it's changed. You might can major in creative writing now. But anyways, I'm not sure about that. But regardless, I got a bachelor's in literature, but I got a heavy minor in creative writing. And I was really in the creative writing department a lot. Like that was really my main focus. Like I got the bachelor's in literature, and I did the minimum requirements. But like even the closest literature professors knew me as a writer. The two closest ones, I was a woman named Jenny Davidson and then another woman named Mara Spiegel. Those are my two closest literature professors, and like they knew of me as a writer as well. And they knew that was something I was very actively involved and passionate about. So I wrote Fat Like Raymond in college. I wrote it the summer before my senior year. I wrote the story, and I knew immediately that I had hit something. Well, I guess I got that feeling a lot in writing. It was one of the times where I felt like I hit something special, and when I shared it with other people, I got a similar response. So it was the story I sent to get into an MFA. Like you had to submit your MFA applications, which was a ridiculous period of my life. I was like so hung up on getting an MFA and getting into a good school. I was like so anxious about it, and so much anxiety. It was absurd. So it was the story I used and submitted to get into the MFA programs. I got into like 3 schools, and one was Columbia, and one was NYU, and one was I don't know, I forget the third school, maybe Florida or something. I really don't remember. So, but I do think it was 3 schools. I got rejected from a bunch. Iowa, a bunch of Michigan rejected me. A bunch of schools rejected. I may be applied to like 20 of the top programs at the time. So, but I got into 3, and even though the 2 of the 3 I got into, the person who ran the creative writing program at Columbia was a woman named Leslie Woodward, which is a black woman. So a black woman named Leslie Woodward ran the creative writing program at Columbia. And because of that, and she went to Columbia for her writing degree. Oh, no, she went to NYU for her writing degree. But I think she had gotten something from Columbia, maybe. But regardless, she was teaching at Columbia, and she went to NYU to get her writing master's. So I think she looked out for me in both of those situations, honestly. I don't know for a fact. She never told me that. But I definitely assume with Columbia, because she definitely was putting me forward a lot. Like she was definitely putting me forward for opportunities and things. And we had a cool relationship. It was not very personal. Like we didn't really talk about a lot of personal stuff, but I definitely respected her, and I was kind of scared of her. And, I subsequently read her book, and I love her book, and she actually passed away. But she was probably a big part of the reason. She did a big part of my writing career anyway, and I think she might have helped me get into at least Columbia, if not NYU. But I got full scholarship from the New York Times to go to NYU. I think I said that before on this podcast. But anyways, so yeah, when I wrote this story, I was like maybe a little nervous because I knew it was so good that I was like, I don't know why Fat Like Raymond, which I haven't changed the title in 20 years, but I love that title, Fat Like Raymond, even though there's a show, Everybody Likes Raymond. So I think I had that cadence, Everybody Likes Raymond, how I came to Fat Like Raymond. because it's a similar cadence, but I don't know. I like that cadence, Fat Like Raymond, and also what it came to represent for me. But but I wrote a story 20 years ago, and because I was like nervous, like I don't know why all my other stories kind of suck, but this story doesn't suck. I just didn't understand what distinguished the story from so many other stories I wrote. So I was like a little weirded out by it. So I kind of just put it away. And for like a couple of years, I didn't work on it in grad school. I didn't, I worked on all new stuff in grad school. And then after grad school, I focused on the stories that I had been writing in grad school. And I kind of didn't focus on the story. And then I would like open it every few years and tweak it. I would read it and tweak it. So I was just obsessed with reading it every couple of years and just tweaking it. I would tweak it. And I wasn't really sharing it with people or workshopping it anymore. I was just tweaking it. I didn't really change it. So when I first started putting together the first draft of my book, I shared it with some industry people I know in the publishing industry. And this is when I already had, the title, the rap fiction concept. I had all that stuff. I knew that I was doing a rap fiction album at this point, and I've got the rough draft of the album. And, maybe it was like 70% complete. And, I have one of the stories for sure at that time. I didn't know I was going to use necessarily the other two stories, but the one story I knew I was going to use was Fat Like Raymond. I shared it with like one of my longtime agent friends, just like a family friend, and she connected me with a private editor. But for the other material, but everybody agreed Fat Like Raymond was a dope ass story. Like every word hits. With Fat Like Raymond, every word hits. I mean, every word, I had just tweaked it so much and thought about it so much that it's a lot of intentionality in every word of Fat Like Raymond. It's just it's a crazy story. So for me, it works in such a profound way. But anyways, my private editor loved it. My longtime literary agent friend loved it. The family friend, really. She's like my dad's oldest friend, basically. I mean, Charlotte Sheedy is her name, in case anybody wonders. You can look her up. She's like a legend in the publishing industry. Her hits are crazy. She has like some of the greatest writers, and particularly focused on Black writers. She's not a Black woman. But anyways, she's a Jewish woman. But she's amazing. She actually wrote a book herself. I've known her since I was like a little kid. And the way my dad knows her is some civil rights shit. It's from New York, so it's crazy. But I've known her my whole life. And like, you can look her up anyway. So Charlotte Sheedy was one I shared it with. Her and her longtime partner, Miranda Bear, who's actually this dope producer herself, who I've also known since I was a little kid. I shared it with them, and they connected me with a private editor. But everybody agreed, Fat Like Raymond, every word hits. It was a great story. They were like, yo, you got to push this, get this published. So I didn't lean on them for connections. I didn't ask them for any help. I just went to the website, submittable or whatever, and I was like, yo, I'm going to submit the story. I'm going to get it out there. I've never really focused on this story. I mean, there was one, I only submitted a story to Lyric Magazine once. It was like an older version of a story that I am putting in the album. And, whatever. I don't even really track that. Like, I just like mailed it because it was like 15 years ago before submittable. So I just mailed it off. That was the only other time I tried to get a story published. And I never tried connections. I'm very connected because I have the MFA and I went to Columbia. I am actually a fairly connected person. And a few of my college friends are very successful in the publishing and writing industry. And a few of them are very successful in the film industry too. And then some of my professors when I was at Columbia, like for example, one, Victor Laval, he's only blown up and become like a much bigger deal than it was when I knew him. But when I knew him, he just had one or two books out. He was not particularly famous in the publishing world. And I took a lot of classes with him because I connected with his voice. So I did take a lot of classes with him at Columbia. So shout out to Vic. I love Vic. I'm not gonna say I love early Vic. I mean, early Vic probably speaks to me. I don't read because he does the stuff that. Anyways, that's a long story. I don't want to get in that because that's my friend. But I don't know if he's my friend, but whatever. I definitely was taught by him a lot, so he influenced me. But yeah, so I never tried to use any of those connections. I definitely have them, and I might start using them now, but regardless, I never really tried to use them. I just submitted to like 60, And, I definitely sent to the top magazines, Paris Review, Story, Swanee, the Atlantic New York. I don't even know the Atlantic New Yorker. I submitted it there, but they're not even really part of the real system of submittable. But anyways, and I did all the colleges, all the colleges have their own reviews, like all the prestigious colleges have their own reviews. So, I did all that. And that was cool. I did that, and I did it because my private editor, all of them, they were like, yo, you should just try to get this published. That'll help you, if you want to get an agent for the book, that'll help you if you have a book published story. Plus, it's just a good story. You should get it out there. I knew going into it was a massive thing. Because there's massive submissions, and I knew there was tiny acceptance rates. I didn't exactly understand how it worked, just because I worked in the film, and I didn't know. I learned from the film industry that it definitely was because initially with my film, I would just submit through the regular, for film festivals, through the regular. That's actually all I've ever done. I made 4 films and submitted to the regular, through the website. I noticed that no matter how good my films were, it really didn't affect what film festivals they got into. So then I talked to another college friend who works as a programmer at a film festival. After I made my last film and it didn't do any better than any of my other films, I talked to her, and she basically told me as a programmer herself, yo, yeah, I feel like the film freeway or whatever, it's just money for them. I don't have their budgets or whatever, but I'm not trying to snitch on anybody, but I kind of she basically telling me it feels to me that it's just a slush palace to make money and to subsidize everything else. But mainly as a programmer, it's I'm working with producers. There's so many producers that are contacting me, and that's the thing is it's not illegal for these people to have a private line. They can request people from the general public, but then have a private line where people just get to just talk to them directly and share them the films, and they're not going through the system, because the system is, and you can look this up online. I found it's the exact same thing. If not, it's worse in the film industry. It's actually worse in the film industry because you have PR in that, so it's a whole nother. In marketing, so you have all this other, in the movie star. So it's actually worse in the film industry. But if you look it up on the literary magazines, it's known that it's 2 lines for every literary magazine. It's the slush pile, and there's people going straight to the editor. So I didn't try to find a relationship to get me straight to the editor. Matter of fact, there's a contest I applied for where the ultimate person that was deciding it was somebody I knew. I had their email. And I never emailed them to tell them, hey, I applied for this thing that you are in charge of. Just look out for my piece. I never tried any of that. I never used a personal relationship, not once. You know why? Because I have integrity. And then honestly, it's not beyond the integrity. It's kind of just I always saw my art as something that I wanted to take away from the transactional nature of everyday hustling life. And I don't know that was right. I probably shouldn't have done that. And I probably ingested the wrong ideas to even think that. But I did think that. I wanted a clean victory. I didn't want to work the refs. I didn't want to work the system. I didn't really want to be up under somebody and somebody shepherd me in, even though I knew people that could have done that. I applied for things. I asked for recommendations. That's pretty much nobody can really say they ever did more than for me than they was a writer or they was an artist, and I asked them for a recommendation. Other than that, nobody did anything for me. I did ask people for advice, and a lot of those people ignored me, but we're going to get to that at a way later date. A lot of people definitely ignored me and played me. But regardless of that, I never tried to cheat. I just tried to connect with people and network because I never wanted to so even with this literary, I just submitted, see what happened, go through the slush pile. Even though I know established writers skip the line, I can go look it up and see that the people tell you that they do that. And they admit, even I agree. You don't necessarily, just because you know the person, doesn't mean they even going to publish your story. I agree. But think about that. If knowing the person is not enough, definitely think about how much are you going to have the incentive to say no to people you have no fucking clue who they are. And they just, all that's happened is they got past an intern that you probably don't even respect that hadn't even been working for you that long. So anyways, I applied for 60 places. 60 rejections. I got 60 rejections. It's not a big deal. People get hundreds of rejections, 200 rejections. I definitely applied to the top places. In those 60, it ain't no like randos in there. It's like definitely very thought out, very intentional literary magazines that I think would help me solidify rap fiction in my voice in my coming project to the people that have access to the funds that I need to really market it and really make it do what it needs to do. So I knew that, I knew corruption is in a cardigan. I know they wear corruption like a cardigan. I already knew that. I already knew corruption they be wearing it like a cardigan, but I still wasn't going to cheat because they say, all right, but they're always like, oh yeah, but if you're really good, you can get through the slush pile. To be honest with you, 63 submissions, 60 rejections. I did get through the slush pile. I know it for a fact 10 times it was the editor that rejected me. And they sent me a personal note asking me to apply again. I'm kind of a little bit more mafia status where it's like, I don't ask for a favor if I've been denied the first, but whatever. I don't ask for a second favor if I've been denied the first. If it's an artist and it's a collab, I respect people as an artist. They kind of like, you don't want to push nobody into doing something artistic. That has to be an inspired thing. That has to come from an inspired place. But we talk about a transaction, and that's definitely what this is. I'm giving you my art. You're giving me an opportunity to get prestige. That's the transaction. If it's a transaction, it's hard for me to ask for a second favor when I've been denied the first, but that's just me. Whatever. I will probably. Anyways, but those 10 people, I got the response from the editor. One of them was the American Short Fiction magazine editor. He hit me up. He called it remarkable. He said for sure somebody will publish it. That's what he told me. He said for sure somebody's going to. It was actually like a year ago. Because oftentimes these things take a year and a half. I've been doing this for like a year and a half, trying to get the story published. So it takes forever to hear back. So like 8-9 months, you have to follow up a bunch of times. But these people got back to me like in 4 months. And they were like, the editor was like, yo, it's remarkable. And I know someone else is going to publish this. We can't do it. It seemed like there was another editor that wanted to pass on it. So they couldn't do it. But he was definitely like, this is remarkable. And I got notes for, like I said, 9 other people. And of those 10 people that sent me personal notes, who knows how many more of those other rejections I got past the slush pile. Like, I bet you I got past a lot of slush piles. And I had a lot of interns wet on the beat like, yo, this nigga the shit. But the editor hated. Why did the editor hate? Because they tagging down their friends. And they don't have no transparency. And they have every reason to say no. And, there is something slightly controversial about the story, but not really. Not really. But regardless, it ain't a morality tale where the characters only do moral things and only have moral thoughts. That ain't the story. It ain't that. It's not a morality tale where the protagonist only has moral thoughts. That's true about it. But it ain't really nothing happening that's crazy like that. But I stayed true. I didn't pull favors. I didn't email people I know. But I got to 60 rejections, and 10 of them I got a response. And 2 of them I actually worked with them. So the Yale Review person, this is not like really cheating to me, but I had a friend that's one of my boys that I sent him one of my Substack things, and he sent it to his group, and his group mentioned, hey, we know somebody from prep school who is actually working at the Yale Review. So they connect, boom, they connect. He actually breaks down like, yeah, it's like, we mainly trying to publish people that already been published because no one's going to buy the Yale Review based off an unknown writer. If we have all unknown writers in there, people are not going to really buy it because they're buying it based off people that they already have read. So best case scenario, we do 50-50 new people and old people because we do all old established people. If we do all established people, it doesn't say anything about our brand. Like, okay, sure. But anyways, so he said ideally it's 50-50. So it's like really crazy odds. I think that's corrupt. I would tell him to his face, he looked like a nice guy. He was nice enough to me, but that's corrupt. A lot of people participate in corruption and they want to act super moral, but that's why I don't really take them seriously. And look, I had to do I'm not some super moral thing because I do business, and business is usually not, you can't really be purely more, you can't be living up to totally just I never do anything that somebody else would call wrong. So I'm not above anybody, but I'm saying I think that is a messed up system. So regardless, he told me, yeah, you can send it to me. I'll reject it in the system because I wanted to send him an updated one. I sent it to him. He said, I rejected the system, send it to me. I tell you what, I think he rejected it too. He gave me nice notes. They were kind of bullshit. He basically liked the story. It's just obvious he wasn't going to try to get his senior editor woman to try to publish it. He wasn't going to go to bat for me. He didn't really care about my friend that much. He's just another selfish, self-involved writer. Honestly, that's what the guy came off as to me. He didn't really say much about the story. He didn't really care, but whatever. I wasn't mad at him. It's cool. I don't have no hatred towards him. It's all good. But I just felt like, it was fine responses. The notes were fine. But they obviously were not like, it's like this person didn't take the story that seriously. To me, that's my truth. It's like he just wanted to say no. He knew he was going to say no. Going into it, he was irritated that my friend had introduced me to the situation. He knew somebody who knew me, but I wasn't like a buddy that could really call in and really tap in with him and really be like, yo, nah, fuck what you talking about. I'm so-and-so from so-and-so. You're going to have to look out for me. And these type of people, they definitely fold to that type of energy. Let's be frank. So anyways, I wasn't going to try that. I don't really care. He can say whatever he wants. I read his story. My story better than his story. So I'll definitely tell him that. He should know that. He can't write as good as me. So I respectfully, you don't write as good as me. So how you got into some gatekeeping position to be above me is absurd. You don't write better than me. If you ever went to the people, you definitely would not be loved by the people like I am going to be loved by the people. So, and you just in my way. But regardless, I wasn't mad. He do his thing. But the Callaloo people, man, the Callaloo people. I didn't even really know Callaloo because that's a brand that ain't connected to a university. I didn't even know who Callaloo was. If it wasn't for my mentor, the GOAT fiction writer alive right now, my mentor, I wouldn't know about Callaloo. I'm gonna be honest, it's a black magazine. I know about him because of the GOAT. She connected me with them. She got love for them. She had love for them. Not this new regime. I don't even think she know this new regime. But regardless, maybe she does. And I love to her, but also fuck this new regime. Like respectfully, but respectfully, of course, to the GOAT, but like fuck this new regime on Callaloo. So it is what it is. So I applied to Callaloo, and we're gonna really get into this story because I'm really gonna just say what I think happened. And I'm gonna tell my truth, and I'm gonna be honest. And it is what it is. But it's up now, and I'm definitely telling the Callaloo story. I'm definitely telling what happened. So I applied for Callaloo, and I had a weird feeling. I had a weird instinct that Callaloo was going to that I might publish a story with Callaloo, just because I loved it because of my mentor, and I just thought it would be so cool if I landed in this magazine that my mentor respected, and I just had a feeling that it might get in. So it took a long time. It was like freaking almost a year I waited. And I followed up after like 8 months, and they told me it would be soon. And I followed up after like 10 months, and they told me it would be soon. And then I followed up after a year, and they told me, okay, it's going to be a revise and resubmit. So when I first heard that, revise and resubmit, I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't. Like, what? I was like, okay. I was kind of happy because I assumed it was good, but I also just didn't know. So then I reached out to some friends, some editors, some people that I even reached out to Emil, who people on Substack know, who's an editor. And he was like, yeah, I feel like this means you're basically going to get in. And Rose was like the same thing. Editors don't really spend time on projects they're not interested in. Like editors get so many projects that they have to say no to that they don't really spend more time on projects. So I think it's more like you're going to get notes, and then you're basically going to resubmit, and then that's going to be the one they approve to publish. So I'm like, okay, cool. And, I reach out to my private editor, Kevin. He's the same thing. You good. Congratulations type energy. I get the notes. All right, so the original set of notes, because I basically got effectively 3 sets of notes, but only one actually written out. The first set of notes I got written out. They emailed them to me. And, my first instinct, I'm sensitive about my shit. So I was like, what are these notes? I didn't really agree necessarily. But I'm like, all right, let me chill. I talked to my private editor, Kevin. I talked to Kevin, and he was like, I get what you're saying. I actually agree with you, Andrew. I actually don't. I think the story is good as it is, but whatever. Give a pass at it. Try to improve it in the way these people are suggesting, and it's worth it for you to get in because it is a prestigious magazine. So I work on it. I work on it a shit ton over like 3-4 days. I bring it up because that ends up being a thing. How long I worked on it, because I worked over it for 3 or 4 days. Now again, I've worked on this story for like 20 years. Like, there's only so much I'm going to change about the story, and the initial notes, a lot of them are very positive. Like, it's a lot of very positive notes. The first person, the associative editor, is very clear about what he thinks needs to change. He's basically like, one thing needs to change. I didn't completely change that thing. I tried to improve it, but I couldn't completely get rid of it just because of the nature of the project and the larger project that it was part of. I personally couldn't get rid of it. It just didn't really, to me, make sense. If you read this story and then I'd have to put it in when the book came out later on, I'd have to include it, and you would be like, well, why would he exclude this? It would almost draw too much attention to it. And give away something. So I couldn't exclude it completely, but I did pare it down. I ended up thinking the person was right about that. And then the second notes, the notes from the senior editor, they were fine. There were still a lot of compliments. There was very much a lot of positive things about the story, but, some criticism that I could address. But not this whole thing that becomes later. The whole thing that becomes later, the very premise of the story, she doesn't bring that up. That's not what she says is the problem. So, in the original set of notes. If she had, I would have known where I have a huge problem here, because I'm not going to change that. And if I continue just to work on it, and this person, it may have played out the same way, but I don't know. At least I would have known from the beginning what the central issue was. I work on it over 4 days. I even asked Kevin, I'm like, yo, bro, should I wait longer just because I feel like it's ready? Should I wait longer just so that they think that I worked on it longer? In the meantime, I have to work on my novel. I'm working my novel. Like, this is basically a completed song in my album to me. So it's not like I really feel like I need to just spend 6 months just thinking about this story, or even 3 months just sitting thinking about something. It's been 20 years. I know what I want the story to be about. So I basically Kevin's like, nah, it just shows you work hard. You take it seriously. You're passionate about them. And also, like, it's been a year. I'm like, they are interested in the story now. I know they've read it recently. I need to get it back to them while it's on their brain fresh. So it's because it's easy to become part of the mush of the thousands of stories these people are reading a year. It's easy to become easily just part of, like, the mush. It doesn't really stand out to you. So I'm like, I need to get it to them fresh. Read it again, and I'm thinking we're getting to, like, yo, put me in the next issue. No, that's not how it goes down. I sent it to her, sent it back to them in 4 days. I had to follow them like 3 or 4 times. It takes another like 3 months. So I made basically a year in like 3 months since I originally submitted the story to them. I constantly have to follow up with them, but I finally get word from them that the editor that they're passing on the story. Again, I had heard from a bunch of people that this basically meant I was in, that they don't waste this much time on the story. So in my mind, I think I definitely improved the story. I did the things that they suggested. I think the story is better, and it already was an incredible story that I honestly feel like should have been published already. And I feel like it's a great opportunity for them to have the first dibs and really just put me out there. But no, they reject the story. So the crazy thing about the rejection, though, is the associate editor sends me the email from the senior editor saying why she rejected the story. And basically, this is where really it goes super, super left, and this person was totally out of line. And I don't give a fuck what she says. She's totally fucking out of line, and she's on some ego God complex that's just wild and crazy. And like, yo, you played yourself. Congratulations, you played yourself. For eternity. With me, you played yourself for eternity, because you definitely going to be proved wrong about this story. So she says, basically, this premise of the story, I don't think is acceptable. You can't have the premise of the story. There's this other stuff I like about the story. I like the character, but this premise of the story, I don't agree with. She's like, basically, the premise of the story she doesn't agree with, and I should put the story away, or like sit on it, or like it's so weird. She's basically telling me like this story will never work. This story is unacceptable. I'm like, what? And I'm so confused. I mean, I can't tell you exactly what it is because that gives away the story, but she's basically saying the thoughts the character's having and his actions are unacceptable. Now, she acknowledges that, I mean, these things, it's a thing. She's like, this is a thing that does happen, and like, technically you can write a fictional story about all different types of characters. She acknowledges that, but she just says, he's not likable if he has these thoughts or almost does the thing that he almost does. So I'm like, what? Like what? Huh? Like what? Wait, what? He's not likable. What? Nah. Raymond likable. Raymond is super, super likable, and he absolutely isn't perfect as a person, and he definitely sometimes has thoughts that, you know, are not great. But Raymond is definitely likable as a person. Girl, you are out of line. So, and the idea that you would tell me that I would put the story away, like you're God, and you actually are not a subjective person who's reading a bunch of stories and sometimes calls it right and sometimes calls it wrong. Like the greatest umpire in the world looking at a ball or a strike can't always call a ball or a strike right. That's an objective thing, whether it's in a box. You are inherently talking about something subjective, and for you to treat something subjective like it's objective, and for you to take the God complex to tell a black man who probably is your age and who's been writing and making art for 20 years, that he should just put his story away because you don't think his story should be allowed to be out there. And you're God, so you know right. So, you know, I got the rejection, and you know, whatever. Like, I did this because I want you guys to know you don't have to be polite to these people. You don't have to play nice with these people. Like, if someone rejects you, I'm not saying like go back to them and change the grades, because I definitely wasn't trying to change the grade. Like, I responded to her and I was like, yo, this is respectability politics. I responded to the guy, actually. I was like, this is respectability politics at its worst. No black person would ever confuse what you confused about the story, because she actually got something wrong. She accused the person of doing something that he objectively didn't do. And she just makes up the idea of what morality means to fit what her ridiculous political agenda. And I'm like, yo, that's objectively untrue. Like, you're accusing my character of something that I can objectively say is untrue. And I say, you must have read the story too quickly. I'm trying to be nice. I'm like, you must have read the story too quickly. You obviously got a lot going on because you took forever to get back to it. How many revised and resubmits are you giving people? Is that like some little game you're playing? Instead of rejecting people, you're doing revised and resubmits, and you're just stringing people along, and you want them to work on something for 6 months based off your notes because you're God. I forgot. You're God, and your notes come down as commandments from Moses, and your notes have to be obeyed, and they can change, and you can change your mind because, you know, unlike an actual God, you do change your mind because you're actually just human. So at the end of the day, she pulls this bullshit and I call it out. I'm like, you're contradicting yourself. I have your previous notes. You're saying the story, you said all these good things about the story. It got past all these people to get to you. And you're telling me a story that accomplished all of that shouldn't be published at all. But it's not about respectability politics. It's whether he's likable enough or not. Or whether it's the dumbest thing. I'm sorry, I hate to be crass. I know that's crass. God forgive me, Lord forgive me, because I am a Christian. But you got me out of my Christian element. Because you got me fucked up. You got me fucked up if you think I'm dumb enough. See, the thing is, I'm not 20. I know that you're full of shit. That's it. You full of shit. It's crazy how full of shit you is on this one. And for you to go out of your way to say that, it's like you're being unprofessional. Get it together. Like, that is unprofessional. You shouldn't be giving out all these revise and resubmits. You should just reject stories and move on if you're going to reject them. And you shouldn't be bringing politics into the reading of fiction in this elementary school way. Like, yeah, you can acknowledge that, like, yeah, there is politics in writing. Politics is in art. But it's not, when you're using it for gatekeeping, that's propaganda. That's someone who's invested in propaganda and doesn't want truth. They want propaganda. They want a message to be given through art. And again, you can acknowledge the politics of art, and you can acknowledge the layers where art is political. But when you start to decide, whatever your perspective is, that politics gets to dictate what art comes out, you're a propagandist. So that's how I feel. So I just sent her, and honestly, the email, this is way more unhinged than the email. The email I sent her was very polite. It was very polite. I really worked through that email to make sure I drained any negativity and just made my points. Because that's why I like writing. Because how I really feel, I can use that as a tool to sharpen my message, not just to express myself. But through my words to my people, to my Backatcha fans, which ain't really nothing but the Substack people, and then a few people, that really fuck with me, I'll just give it to you raw and uncut, So, but yeah, I sent her the email. I'm thinking that's that, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, one more rejection, feel sad for a couple hours, wake up the next day, get to writing, rinse and repeat. Because failure ain't nothing but something I eat. So I was like, whatever. I'm chilling, do like laying on the couch. I got the bridge of my nose. I'm holding it with my fingers, just relaxing, just this deep breaths. Like, cool, I'm chilling. Like, I was shocked. I was like, wow, she really rejected me at the last minute. That's wild, crazy, And I did name drop my mentor. So I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they don't like my mentor. I don't know. My mentor been in the magazine, But regardless of that, it is what it is. I'm thinking it's over with. I'm like, my mentor is the only reason I cared about this. I'm good on this. Whatever. I'm chilling. I sent my message. I've said the last word. If I say anything else, it's corny. So I'm not saying nothing else. I laid it down. Your respectability politics, I'm not impressed. I'm a real nigga. I don't give a fuck about your respectability politics. I don't respect you. That's it. That's my politics. That's the politics. I don't respect you. You have to earn my respect. I've done too much. My ancestors done too much. I'm too locked in. I'm too focused. I'm too much that guy. I have too much of important stuff to do to really just care about somebody that has earned no respect from me, who's done nothing to earn respect from me. You just behind a gate. It's cool. I applied for your gate, but that's cool. I sent my message. It was polite. It wasn't personal. It wasn't disrespectful. I just said what I said. I didn't even know he was going to send it to her. I just said whatever. So he forwards it to her. She responds to me. She tells me, look, this is not what you're thinking. We can talk it. Maybe we can publish the story. Oh, maybe I can publish the story. Maybe I can publish the story. All right, so, I stayed true. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm already depressed. I'm like, this is corny. Like, this person is going back and forth. At one point, she may publish the story, but also the story the story needs to, she just told me I should put the story away for some undetermined amount of time. And that the story was not ready to even be worked on, or I needed to have time away from her, whatever the fuck she was trying to communicate as God who understands how art, not just the evaluation of the individual art, but what an artist should be doing. So I'm like, nah, man, whatever. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll work on the story. I see what you're saying. Now you've told me what the real issue is. You have an issue with the premise of the story. So I have to really if you're going to publish this story, I'm going to have to refine the premise in a way that really shows I understand and the story understands the cost of this person's thoughts and what he thinks about doing and whether he does it or not. So I say, you know what? I'm going to work on the story. Because to me, it's all about the story. I'm going to work on the story. She's like, yo, here's my number. We should talk on the phone. I hit her back. I'm neurodivergent, which is true. I'm neurodivergent. I don't really want to talk on the phone. Only time I talk on the phone is through business when I have to resolve a major conflict. And I just don't know what I'm going to say. I just would prefer if we just have a writing. I can, I'm neurodivergent. I just prefer that. That is the truth. I don't be talking on the phone. If you catch me on the phone, it's like, I'm trying to like really solve a problem. Like I have to be on the phone. I'm doing something that, I have to be very careful and intentional, and that can't be a misunderstanding. Whether you reject this story, I already thought you rejected the story, lady. So to be honest with you, I shouldn't say lady because it's not a gender thing. It's not a gender thing. So you already rejected the story. I thought it was over. So you talking about talking on the phone? What are we talking on the phone for? I get it. You don't like this one thing you didn't tell me about before. In the previous notes, you didn't tell me this is the thing really. All right, I'm going to work on that. So I work on it for and I tell her I'm not working on it no long period of time. I got to go. The point of me publishing this story is to get attention for my novel, not just for the sake of whatever the fuck you got going on or whatever you think is important. No, these literary magazines should be helping writers that have novels coming out. It's not bullshit. It's like some theoretical magic for no one even reading these things. The people in them don't even read other people's in them. So it's a prestige thing. It's like nerds that really want to be in the game read these. But, other than that, and no disrespect to nerds. I love the nerds. Like the nerds don't get that wrong. I do love you, but I really do. But I tried to get this to you, but the gatekeepers had their own say. So I wanted to have you something for the summer for you to really just vibe out to, just take you back to high school. But they didn't want that. They didn't want that. They wanted you bored, reading stupid shit. They wanted you reading something where a writer was writing to impress another writer. That's really what they want you to read. They want the nerds to read shit where writers are writing for other writers. And Juno called that. Juno was right about that. That's what I would say about Juno. He was right about that a long time ago. He said that. And I think that one thing that I didn't understand about the game is these writers be having you wanting to write for other writers where you need to be writing for readers. And, you got to be thinking about the reader, not these other writers who just basically gatekeepers who try to make you feel like they know something, like they got the key to some future that they don't have the key to. But anyways, so I sent an email. I'm working on the story. I'm not going to talk to her on the phone. So she doesn't respond. I send her the story 8 days later. She doesn't respond. She doesn't say anything. So I wait another 2 weeks. This is where I kind of bitched up. And this is where I fucked up. I'm not going to even I'm not going to run from it. I got to take it on the chin. I did it. I basically was like, yeah, I'll talk to you on the phone. I emailed her yo, have you got a chance to look at it? Whoop-de-whoop. I can make some time to talk to you on the phone. I'm like, I really do not want to talk to this person on the phone. Because I know in my mind, this person's just trying to bullshit me. She just wants to talk to me to convince me to listen to her bullshit. It's like if you're an editor. You're an editor. I'm a writer. Why are we talking on the phone? Literally what you do for a living is read writing and write. I write. I want to have a record of what we're talking about. So I understand writing more than I understand communication over the phone. Because I can read it multiple times. I can really analyze it and think about what is this person communicating to me. So I'm like, cool. We can talk on the phone if you want to. She emails me back a week later. I read the story. We want to talk. I'm happy we can talk on the phone. I get on the phone with her. I talk to her on the phone. She's just not being professional. I don't want to go into it. She basically makes a joke about politics very early in the conversation. About America. She criticizes America, which is cool. I get it. You want to criticize America, but I'm a stranger. Why are you trying to it's almost like she's being fake woke. You know, it's like she's just like signaling to me, like, it's like, I want you to pose my story. I don't give a damn about what you're talking about. I'm just like, yo, I don't dig this. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you criticizing America on the phone? What if I'm a black conservative? What if that's true? I'm not saying I'm not. Maybe I am. But I'm not allowed to be a black conservative and publish my writing in a black magazine because I got to listen to you criticize politics? I'm like, yo, this is so inappropriate. And then she just talks to me about bullshit. And then she criticizes Mississippi. That was really corny. I tell her something about my personal life and, you know, and politics and in my personal connection to politics in Mississippi. And she like, this is Mississippi. Like, oh, I don't get why those people vent that way. You know, oh my God. Oh my, such an original comment. You're so original. You should definitely be a writer yourself. Fuck being an editor. You should be a writer yourself because you are so original. Like, that comment, no one's ever thought to say that. Just imagine being from Mississippi. I've never heard an East Coast person tell me, I don't know why people down south vote the way they do. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, it's because people on the East Coast think they're smarter than they are, and they hold us back. And they have. Look at the history. While using everything we create to make money and institutionalize and always look down on us when they have the exact same problems. What? You got it. I ain't even argue with her. I'm just like, you got it. And she get to like, oh, you know, these changes, I'm going to send you, you're going to see that I like some of it. I'm going to send you my notes. I'm like, okay, cool. You actually gave me notes. You actually went through it and gave me notes. Okay, that's awesome. Like, all right. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, at least I'm going to get that. That's really something. I'm going to get a real editor's editing. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me not even whatever. And then this is what really kills me. And she really think I'm stupid. She's like, and you know, just if you want to send something else, the portal's always open. I got your email. We talking on the phone. The portal's open. I'm past all that. Y'all done wasted a year and a half of my time almost and made me work on a story over something that ultimately was in the story from the beginning, and you should have told me from the beginning that was the real problem with the story. Your response of being like, oh, you just go through the portal. The portal's always open. Like, what? You dissing me and you playing me. You think I'm stupid. You think I'm stupid. That's really what this is about, is you think people from Mississippi stupid, and I'm not stupid. And you think I'm desperate, and I'm not desperate. So I don't give a fuck. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. You corny and you played yourself. That's not art. What you about, that's not art. That's bullshit and propaganda. And you played yourself. You need to go publish a story from one of your friends. That's what you should do. Go publish a story from one of your friends. I finished my novel, people. I don't know what I'm going to do with Fat Like Raymond. I got 3 more magazines that can still publish it. My editor may help me with somebody. I may reach out to some authors I know. I may just go ahead and cheat. Y'all can't blame me because look what the game is. You know, I may just publish it on Substack. I don't know. My novel, though, gotta get a book deal. I got to get a book deal. But Fat Like Raymond, she wrong about Fat Like Raymond. Oh, yeah, I got the notes. Yeah, that's it. I got the notes. I looked through the notes she gave me. People, she's just moving paragraphs around. Like, literally, like 40% of the notes on the story. It's like a 5,000-word story. It's like she's just moving the paragraphs around. It's like, okay, great. Let it breathe more, sure. Or condense it more. Like, I don't really care about that. That's not real. You know, that's moving the furniture around in a house that got remodeled. I built this cathedral from the ground up. You moving the furniture around and telling me my story ain't ready, it needs to sit down? And she put a bunch of question marks. Like, girl, you playing yourself. Like, I'm glad I got them for real, because if I want to, I can show them later on. They're ridiculous question marks. The question marks are ridiculous. She highlighted this one line. This is what kills me. You know, I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, the notes are ridiculous. It's just like, it's not even real notes. It's just moving paragraphs around and question marks over stuff that's obvious. It's not confusing at all. Like, my people, I don't write the most complicated, dense prose, to be honest. Like, if anything, I'm going for like, it goes down easy. It's literary, clearly, but it goes down easy. You know, it ain't like, I'm trying to make popcorn, my people. I'm not trying to like make some crazy dish that you never, I want a lot of people to like this and like it a long time. Like, it's not complicated prose. All these question marks are really like, you're looking stupid, honestly. Because like, it's not complicated prose. You're just being condescending with the question mark. I get it, but like, I'm not dumb. That's condescension, but you're making yourself look dumb because these question marks look stupid. Those moments make sense. Everything you pointed out makes sense. It's just art. It's literary. It has double, triple meaning. So you really just need to triple check it. You played yourself. But yeah, I finished the novel, people. I did it. I can't do no post about this. I can't write nothing up about this. I'm off this. It is what it is. I don't feel like no victim. I don't care. I'm happy she did it. I'm happy with everything. I'm so happy with this video and this audio that I'm making, and I'm so happy with what this has really confirmed for me, what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to change this because it's corrupt. It's all corrupt. The fact that there's 2 lines is corrupt. We've accepted it far too long. It's corrupt. And I'm putting an end to it. I'm going to eat the gate. And I have ways to do that. So I'm not just talking shit. I'm going to do it. And the art world been cheating people, and I can't change that. The art world their favorite thing is a dead artist for a reason. They don't got to pay the artist at all. And often they ain't paying the family's estate. It's just maybe the lawyers and the agents and other people involved in the system getting some money. But nah, the artists, they don't like an artist that can change the value of the art. They don't like the artist, the ego. They all hate the artist's ego, which I get. But they all need them, but they like them dead. And I'm alive. That's the thing. I'm alive. I'm still here. I exist. And I'm going to get my novel published. And it's going to do what it got to do. That's the thing. I'm going to do what I got to do. Fat Like Raymond gonna sing. That's what she don't understand. Fat Like Raymond gonna sing. That was already written. Fat Like Raymond gonna sing. So it is what it is. You can do what you want. You can feel how you want. I wish you the best. I wish Kalu the best. I really don't care. I'm happy I got to make this because this helped me lead to understanding that that's going to have to be part of my destiny, that I ate the gate. Like, I put the gate in my mouth and I ate it, and now there's no more gate. Now, I'll never be able to stop exploitation. It's just not in my lifetime. Maybe a future generations, 7 generations from me, they'll just, they'll stop the exploitation of art. I'm not going to lie to the people like I'm going to be able to do that. I can't do that. I can't stop exploitation of art. But I can eat the gate, and I ate the gate. I'm going to eat the gate. And I'm going to publish this book. This book is coming. Rap fiction is coming. It's definitely coming, people. Rap fiction is coming. And, nothing's stopping that. Nothing is stopping what I have coming. That's what you have to understand. It's all motivation. It's all story for me. That's what you can't stop me. It's all story for me. It's all content. It's all content. It's content for the futures to look over and be like, he was doing this and this is how they did him. This is how they did him. Wow. I can't never quit. Because they did him like that. And he didn't quit. I ate the game. Back at you. Episode 5. Back at you.